I'm gonna say this, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I don't really care if you do either way, but you need to leave. How long have you had dogs for?
You know, it is. I had two dogs growing up. One hated me, one loved me. I had they were little poodles. My parents had a white and a black poodle, mini poodles. And that's what's weird is I see poodles now. They're huge.
Well,
Like
that's
these
their
were little.
standard poodles. Yeah,
Yeah, these were
you have
mini poodles.
standard, then you have toy, then you have, teacup.
Teacup. Yeah, they were a little bit bigger than toy back then.
Okay,
And we found one in the neighborhood. No tags. There's no chips back then. Like
right.
so it just became our dog. And then we bought one. I can't remember where. The black one was named Rocky. When I was like, I'm a little kid, it would come into my room at night and sleep on my feet.
Was that the black one?
Yeah, the black one. And so
The one
that
you
was kind of,
rescued?
huh?
That's the one you rescued? You That's the one you found on the
My
street?
my parents did. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were
but
very
that's
strong with
so that was
that.
the rescue one, that makes sense. I think rescue dogs always love you more and are more
Yeah,
grace giving than dogs that haven't, had a rough spot, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And I think that's really what set our DNA in it is, number one, my mom was adopted,
mm,
and also my kind of first mentor in business was adopted, right? And so I've always had this very just adoption and birth and all, they're all the same to me. And so we've always just looked to rescue and adopt dogs since we started getting dogs. And so my those were my dogs growing up. I had already moved out of the house by the time like they passed away after I moved out. They lasted a very long time.
oh, well, yeah, well, poodles do, they were smaller, but you
Yeah,
also didn't go through that loss. I think that's the hardest part of dog ownership is the loss because they're not gonna live as long as you if things go right.
yeah. And unfortunately, and something I'm not looking forward to, I have never experienced that. I I've had
Okay.
dog run away and just blink out of existence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, those like
And
that.
a couple where we found out later we couldn't keep them, but I haven't had a dog that we've taken care of pass away, which jumped into a question I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
So, so I've got my girl here. I inherited her from one of our clients. You can
Okay.
see when I got her, she only had a little gray on the chinny chin
A
chin, and
little
now
more
it's
gray, yeah, she's
a
starting to
little bit
show
more
marks.
gray.
Yeah.
She's getting older. She's not the healthiest either, and all that stuff. And then our phones listen to us. And I was talking to my wife about dogs passing away, and I'm probably going to be really sad when that happens, right? And our phones listen, and it popped up some ads. And this is, I don't know if you've seen these before. Have you seen the plush pet clones?
Yeah, I noticed it too. Car insurance rates skyrocketing. Well, there is a solution, and that is our amazing partner, Primerica Secure, also known as Answer Financial. What you can do is call them, and in about 10 minutes, you'll have a quote, and you'll know whether you have the best rate for your car insurance right now or if there's something better out there. All you have to do is call 1-877-855-8111 and you can get a free quote. Now, here's the cool part. For the best service and to make sure you get the best quote, tell them my name, Santino Pino, and give them this ID number, 3GVPY. Once again, 3GVPY. It should be right here on the screen for you. Call them, get a free quote for your car insurance, and see if you either have the best rate right now or if there's something better out there for you. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, someone sent that to me. No,
I
we're
am,
not doing that.
and you know what?
You
Here's the thing:
can,
is
but
that
not me. I don't know.
I you're against it. I am so on the fence, right? Like to me, it's kind of obvious why someone would be against it, right? It's like
Why?
a
Why
it's
do you
like a
think
fluff
someone's against it?
it's like a fluffy version of taxidermy, right? Like that's what it is, right? Like it's
It
you're
is.
not really there's not really dog parts in there. I get it, right? also that memory is still sitting there. You're never moving on, right? But also having a little plush toy of my dog that I miss so much that would bring me fond memories. Like I see the argument for both. And right now I'm still on the fence, you know?
You'll know when you have to say goodbye, how you feel. Like,
Mhm.
I'll just say this, since my mom passed, like, it was sad, but okay. When my dog passed away, I literally lost my mind. Like, I don't remember most that day. I just know 6 distinct times I was aware that I was screaming on the ground.
Mm,
Like, no
wow.
exaggeration, screaming on the ground, just howling, howling. And my pastor at the time, who's really such a smart guy, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I miss the loss of my dog was harder on me than the loss of my own mom." And he goes, "That's not surprising at all." I go, "How can you say that?" He goes, "Well, if you think about it, no matter what, no matter how hard we try as humans, we're still going to hurt you. We still hurt each other. Even if we try not to, it's just the nature of the game of how we are." He goes, "But your dogs will never hurt you.
Yeah.
They'll never do anything at all in any way to hurt you." He goes, "So it really is kind of a pure loss of love." And I was like, whoa, you're right. You're right. And so, see how you feel, Santino, but I mean, I lost Muggsy was his name. I have his picture right here. He was my first. I had cats my whole life, and Muggsy was my first dog. And I rescued him, and I brought him from Hawaii to Dallas, Texas. I mean, leaving him behind was not an option. And he was a good boy.
Um,
He was my first dog.
our our friend that probably the toughest time I've had saying goodbye to a dog. Again, I haven't lost one to death yet, so I know that will be the worst when that happens. So I'm not comparing this to what you felt.
No, I hear you.
Is our friend Marissa?
Oh yeah.
She found a dog where she lived up here in North Phoenix because at the time she only lived about 4 miles north of me, and so she gets on. We're both on that Facebook group for lost dogs in Phoenix, and
Mm.
she gets on there and posts. She finds this beautiful little English bulldog,
Oh,
brindle color, right?
yeah.
Older, you could tell. And you know what? After you see her, you could tell she was kind of just used for breeding.
Mm.
And this beautiful little one that most people would think of as a small dog, but this thing was a beast compared to our Gizmo, the white one that's right here, right?
Right.
So she asked, Angelica and I had been talking about finding a partner for Gizmo, and really we had talked about maybe having puppies as well. So Marissa rescues this dog. She can't keep. She had two dogs at the time, and I'm like, we look at Angelica, and I was like, what if we took it?
Mm.
That same day brings her by. Okay.
Wow.
I have never fallen harder in love with an animal immediately, but there was one problem. Okay. She was a bulldog, not a mean one, not a pit bull or anything like that. She didn't realize how strong she was.
But
And
if she was used for breeding, she wasn't socialized as well. So,
no, but she was super
um,
friendly. She was
yeah.
super friendly, but oh my God, like only I could handle her. And at that same time, I was going on a trip without my wife and daughter. I was going on a business thing and I had to leave her right after we got her. We were calling her Sheila. Probably going to call her Sadie because that's her name now. But we got Sadie, and I had to leave a few days later. Well, in that few days, it was just she would not respond to the girls. She tore apart the house, and then my greatest fear was she was going to tear Gizmo in half by accident,
Yeah.
playfully.
'Cause she doesn't know. Yeah.
And and so we're keeping in the cage. I tell Marissa, and Marissa's like, "Hey, I had another family reach out to me that doesn't have a dog. Why don't I just come get the dog? I'll give it to that family." I'm like, "All right." And even knowing that she's going to a great home,
You're
oh,
sad.
I'm crying. I was done for a week. Yeah, it got me. And every day, every time we go to a dog park, I hope I bump into Sadie. I really do. It's kind of held me back from I've hold myself back from asking Marissa like, hey, what's her name? I want to connect with them on Facebook because I miss her. I really do. So
Yeah. I have a new dog I got last year, almost exactly a year ago. And he's 1/3 pitty, 1/3 staffy, 1/3 Australian cattle dog. And out of those three, the Australian cattle dog behavior is the hardest one for me to handle
got it.
because they're designed to push and bully around a bull
Yeah.
steer. So they have no fear and they get into your face and and so I'm like, so actually I hired so I hired a dog trainer who came to my house and actually helped me with training because I had cats my whole life. I don't know dogs. Like I had Muggsy and now I have Pippin, my beagle, but and she looked at him and she was, saw his breeds and kind of just checked out his temperament. She goes, yeah, he's a lot of dog. I go, you keep, and she said it like 4 times. And I said, you keep saying that phrase, he's a lot of dog. What does that mean? She goes, well, he's a lot of dog. I go, what does that mean? I owned cats. And she's like, he's got a lot of drive. Like genetically, he's got high energy, high prey drive, high motivation drive, and he's really smart. And so he's super smart. His breed just makes him very bullheaded and very stubborn.
Hmm.
And he's really strong and he's high energy. So he's just a lot of a dog to deal with. It's not like, my beagle, she's her own thing, but she doesn't, I could pick her up if I had to. She wouldn't like it,
Yeah.
but if I had to, I could. Muggsy, I could manhandle that dog. I could put my fingers in his mouth. Like he didn't care. I rescued him from the Humane Society. He was my dog.
Nice.
So yeah, but he's a good boy now. She definitely helped me out. It took me 9 months of dog training to get trained in how to deal with him.
Have you ever been like bit by a dog?
Well, yes, but he never punctured, didn't puncture muscle. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But I've had like my hand, I've been bit in the hand. I guess that's muscle. I've been bit in the hand. I had one dog try and pull my Achilles. But I kicked him, unfortunately, but I kicked him and made myself really big.
Yeah.
And it scared him away. But yeah, he was trying to go for my Achilles. He got my
That
socks and he tore my shoe.
that was one of the reasons we got rid of Sadie is uh she she playfully bit Elena,
Mm,
but and it was just like her shoe. So she was like bit her shoe and like just tugged on it a little bit, but to Elena it was right
right.
like
Expecting
and
it.
that was kind of like when I made the decision, okay, she's got to go, right? But one time I got bit, our mutual friends Richard and Mindy,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So they had taken their big Class A RV down to Tucson, where I was living at the time, and he was like, "Hey, let's go have breakfast together." I go, all right. He goes, "Hey, but you got to pick me up because we only have the RV. We don't have any cars with us." I go, "Okay, no problem." I swing by, pick him up in his truck, and oh no, we were also having an event, and at that event, I'm setting up the event, but then also after I'm setting up the event, I find out I'm getting some big recognition at the event too.
Oh,
So I'm like,
nice.
oh, cool, right? So when I usually if I have an event like that, I'm kind of dressed for it the whole day because I know I'm not going to make it home, right?
Right.
Um, so I'm wearing black business pants, loafers, whatever, business shirt, right? And I go pick him up, and he goes, "Hey, come into the RV real quick, say hi to Mindy, and then we'll go to breakfast." I go, "Okay, yeah." So I step in to the RV, and he's got two little Jack Russell Terriers named Angus and Shelby. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Angus is a just lovable little furball, right? Shelby
He's a bitch.
hates me. Yeah. And so
You
I
know
walk in, I
the
don't I don't even see this thing. Okay. I don't even see this thing. All I feel is the canine teeth go into my knee, right? And both Richard and Mindy, Shelby runs off to the back, right? Well, now, like I've never been like skin penetrated bite by a dog before. Like my dogs growing up, it bit me on the nose here and there, stuff like that. But that one, it got in, right? I'm sitting there the whole time at this event that we're having together, like thinking, I'm gonna die. Like I've got some dog disease now. This is it. Like I'm getting this award, thinking, okay, he got this
The
award,
last
and then
award I'll ever get in my life because I'm about to.
yeah,
Goodbye,
he,
everyone.
yeah, he went home that night and fell asleep and didn't wake up, right? Like, and so, but what's funny is this story never went away. Now, because of the new era of people being everywhere, right? Richard and I never really introduce each other anymore. But this story carried on, still carries on for years. And I decided, you know, and Mindy caught on real quick. Every time I tell the story, I add something new to it as a joke, right? Like, I think the last time I had to tell the story, I was like, yeah, that was the roughest kneecap replacement I've ever had, right? Like, and she's dying, right? She's like, every time you tell the story, you make it worse. I go, I know I do. Like, it's a joke. Like, the dog bit me. I was fine,
The
right?
next time you have to go for a leg transplant.
Yeah. No, I said that one time too. The but going back to the event, like it bothered me because now it happened so close to the event. There was not even time for me because you know me, like my day's scheduled by 5 minutes, right? I don't even have time to go get pants anywhere. And on top of that, I was so busy I didn't think, oh, okay, maybe Angelica can go buy a pair of pants for me,
You were
right?
just
I didn't even
panicked.
think of it, right?
You're too busy
So
preparing your death.
oh my gosh, yeah, I think I'm dying, right? So I just had this little tear in my pants that no one noticed, but to me it was like I was missing a pant leg, right? And so that story comes up every time. Every time that Richard and I are in the same room, that story and then another story about introducing each other. It's always about like you see a lot of people that do public speaking together a lot, and they always trying to outdo each other and how they introduce each other. With me and him, it's always about sarcasm. It's always about sarcasm and satire. How can we make people laugh with this introduction, or how can we just like a funny jab, right, at somebody? Yeah,
See,
that's
and
fun
in
part.
my old office, we would see who could out compliment the other in introduction.
Yeah, yeah,
If you could make the person start blushing, then you know you won.
yeah.
And we'd have
Well,
everyone like grade it. Like, all right, you guys have to score us. And whoever wins the greatest intro gets to, have like whatever, like $20 gift card or something like that. So the audience, like off night, they always totally get into it.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I I love doing over the top introductions.
Oh
Love
yeah.
it. Yeah.
This is fun.
That
This is a way to pump people up. Why not?
Oh gosh, yeah. And then it's fun, but I like that dynamic of the two people that are comfortable enough throwing funny jabs at each other because they know that they love each other, right? Like there's that level of comfort there because I think that happens in a lot of workplaces. So when you see entrepreneurs doing that, having fun with each other, I love that. And what's funny is he likes that too. It's just
Yeah.
this is all people see a lot of times, like that's why we have the stage for the podcast is that's I like the in-person conversations, but I was like, man, I want to do one talking about dogs, and there's only one person I want to do that with.
Well, I
So
love my dogs. I
oh
tell you
yeah,
now, it's like people like, we were just talking about this before we started recording, but they're like, I'm single, and they're like, I had someone, they said, when I first got Dax, I had clients, and they're like, I said, so what's new with you? I go, oh, I have a new man in my life. And she goes, what's your dog's name? I'm like, how did you know? She goes, no woman's that excited about a man. I was like, well, that's true. His name is Dax. He's a boy. He's a puppy.
what's your do you have like a go-to story when people ask about your dogs? Do you have a go-to story that you throw at them?
Um, no, no, I don't. It makes you think like if I had one, what would it be? Um, like what kind of question would it be that I would have a go-to story? Like,
Let me paint a picture for you. You get to retirement, and within a few months, you realize that you might only have months or years before you run out of money and lose everything. Because when you were younger, you never figured out how much money you were going to need for retirement. That's where the Pino team steps in. The Pino team has an amazing tool called a financial needs analysis. It is free to everyone. All it does is provide you the solutions you need to make it through retirement. So my challenge to you is this. Contact the Pino team today at 623-262-1861 and get your free financial needs analysis today to figure out everything you need to do to have a rock solid retirement. Have a great day. Now let's get back to the podcast.
I don't know, like, but here I'll tell you one, like one that always comes to mind. My wife and I, like the only kind of absolutely non-beneficial thing that we do is we play a game called PUBG. It's this, me, my wife, and my daughter, we're all sitting there killing people, right? And we got so immersed into this game one night. Seriously. And these matches can last 25, 30 minutes. We got so immersed into just this square in front of us because we have everything. We have the little remotes that connect to our phones, and so our phones become a gamepad and all that stuff, right? We started playing and had no idea the front door was open. We are in the living room. Okay, the front door is right there, right?
Oh.
So all I know is we're near the end of this match, which is when you're supposed to really focus. And I hear what sounds like my dog Phoebe, this one, barking outside in the front. And I look up and holy, the door's open. Oh my God. Like I just threw that. I disconnected my phone from the remote. I go running, barreling outside. And like the ex-law enforcement comes in. So Angelica comes out following me. I'm like, no, you go that way. I'll go this way. Elena, go up the middle, right? So, and luckily they were at least still in the neighborhood. Now, luckily our neighborhood only has 2 entrances into it.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, if you have those covered, they're somewhere in the neighborhood. And we both found them. Problem is this girl right here, the lights could be on. And if she's on something dark, you can't see her.
Right. It's like Dax is pure black.
Yeah. Gizmo, he doesn't know how to hide. Yeah, he doesn't know how to be a dog. You know, his way of hiding is this.
Gets
like the fake ostrich story. He thinks, or Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. If I move very slowly, you can't see me. Right? That's what he's convinced. Now this one though, Chunkers, I call him a teeth torpedo, man. Like he's everywhere. So.
Well, Pippin is a beagle that I rescued in Florida. I went down to Florida to see if I was going to open up an office, and I didn't get the office, but I came back with a dog. And she had never been outside. She had never been walked.
Oh, wow.
And she didn't come from a good situation. So I got her, and I have a backyard, and we have rabbits everywhere because there's no predators anymore because it's all suburbia. Like we've taken away all the woodlands and stuff. And I think I have it somewhere, but we would do, she would capture rabbits and eat them whole, like a boa constrictor whole. And it was the most alarming thing to watch ever.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really, it's an intense, it's just not pretty. And I'm looking for a pen here. Here we go. And so what we started to do, I'm going to make a semblance of one. We started to keep a score sheet. And my big boy, the one I told you that passed, he was not a fast dog. He was a Japanese Mastiff and a Shar-Pei mix.
Yeah.
So he was not a runner, but he was a great guard dog. So what we would do is anytime you saw her do it, we would give her a little bunny head. And then with Muggs, we would give him an assist, a half.
Got it.
And so we kept a scorecard of all the rabbits that we knew about. One season, it was 37 rabbits.
Oh.
And she would just like tail to ear, everything swallowed whole. She wouldn't even. And the nutsoid thing, nothing would come out, Santino. She literally processed the entire rabbit.
Yep. Mhm.
Every single, like, not fur came out, nada. It was just really dark red because of the iron. That was it. Just swallowed it whole. And my vet would be like, well, she might have a hard time eating. I'm like, she eats rabbits whole. He goes, yeah, but I said, no, you're not understanding. It's not like she's breaking them up into pieces. She's literally swallowing the
Yeah.
whole rabbit whole. And he's like, oh, I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, maybe she won't have such a problem. Like, she's not gonna have a problem eating this, trust me.
That's a strange dog habit.
Yeah, it's
Do your
just an
dogs?
odd. It's just
Yeah. Do your dogs now have any weird habits?
and actually Pippin now is too old to chase rabbits, and I got my fence done so we don't. Not really that I can think. I mean, I don't think anything strange. I think whatever they do is wonderful and I love them. But I will tell you how I wake up every morning.
Let's hear this.
So at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, both dogs need to come underneath the covers. So I lift up the covers, they come inside, and it's a Tony sandwich.
Nice.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, you want to wake up in the bestest little pool of oxytocin, wake up between two dogs snuggling you. Life is great.
That is awesome.
I love it. So sometimes I'll just wake up and kind of go, and then go back to sleep. Or just wake up. But I don't know if that's an odd habit. Dax just loves to take things apart because he's, that's the pit staffy Australian cattle, like just got to figure things out and rip it apart. So I love giving him toys, but they last like all of 15 minutes. But it's sure 15 minutes of joy.
Yeah.
And I've gotten the toys are designed for, bulldogs and strong chewers. And one of the mail service, companies that give you like dog treats and toys, they are guaranteed. Yeah, they now said no more because he's just so good at it. But not really too much. No, my dogs are pretty, I don't know. I guess I can't think of them anything unusual because to me, it's just who they are.
The every night it's kind of because we've still got our daughter in the house, so it's like which dogs are we taking for the night, right? The one that neither my wife or daughter ever volunteered to take is this one.
Really?
They're
Well,
usually switching this. Oh, that's my dog. She gonna come find me, right? Now, Gizmo, I think the best explanation of what kind of dog he is, he's like a doggy throw pillow.
okay.
He doesn't know how to jump on a couch. He doesn't know how to jump off a couch. He can't get off a bed. He's just now there's some exceptions to that when his girlfriend here is in the mood for puppy making. Keep it PG, right? Like all of a sudden he can climb upstairs and jump off everything and jump onto things, right? But outside of that he can't. So there was this every time we leave the house, we have one cage with a divider in them. We put the boys on one side, Phoebe on the other side. And we come home from school one day. So we have been gone all day. Generally, our day starts really early. I take off. I drop my daughter off at school. My wife goes to the school. I come to the office. And then I'll go pick up Elena and either stay home for the rest of the day or drop her off and come back. So this day I'm staying home. And she goes, because my daughter's the one that has to go get them, right? And at the time, the cage was downstairs. So we walk in, and there's Phoebe, there's Chunkers. Dad, Gizmo got out. Oh, wonder how he did that. He's on my bed. Nah, you lost me there. I could see him getting out because we've seen him escape before. He knows how to push a cage open, right? So we kind of have to triple lock it. No. And I look over at my daughter and I go, did you leave him on your bed when we went to school this morning? Oh my God, I did. And he stayed on the bed the entire day because he doesn't know how to get off of bed. And she's got these fluffy rugs and piles of stuffed animals. Like he just, if you put him somewhere, he'll be in that space, but he will not leave that space. And that was just so. But the cool part is he didn't have any accidents. He knows only outside. So So
But I think they've proven, everyone just thinks like my dogs are waiting for me and now with the great thing of doggy cams and pet cams, they now realize the only thing your pets really do because they know you're not home. And so they're not going to be able to go out anytime soon. So after like about however long it is, they just go to sleep.
yeah.
Because your body literally just goes into a hibernation system and it just kind of everything slows down and they just go to sleep because they don't know when they're going to eat next. They don't know when they're going to go to the bathroom next. And so they just hibernate out.
Yeah, I take advantage of keeping a dog on cycle like that. Um, if I'm taking just a me day and just staying home, like every now and then I like working hard, but every now and then I'm like, I don't need to schedule anything tomorrow. I'll just keep my calendar clear, stay home, just kind of give my brain a break. I will keep the dogs in the cage and they won't bark or anything because they're just stuck in that
Well,
rhythm.
and that's a safe place for them.
Yeah.
It took me a long time that the trainer taught me that. She goes, no, that's their good place. That's a place they can never be wrong. That's a place that everything is there. So it's a really good thing. And I went on a road trip with Pip and I drove her up to Connecticut and back. It was a 5-week trip. And
I
that was,
remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. And just so what I did is I mapped out all the different state and national parks. Like every hour and a half, we would stop and walk through, because I'm trying to create the ultimate adventure for my dog. And so I realized that she could care less if it was a park or just a rest stop or just a gas station or just a rando field somewhere. I didn't have to be quite so elaborate about it. But we did that, and that was really just fun. And then in Nashville, so there's this really cool app, and it lets you know, it's like Bring Fido, I think it's called. And it's like any type of business that is dog friendly, they have that business advertised there. So places to stay, eat, visit, activities, all that. And the cool thing is, so I went to this hotel in Nashville that is known to be a dog friendly. So all the uniforms have a dog biscuit pocket.
That's hilarious.
And so every time,
Wait, what's the name of that restaurant?
which one? Lazy
The
Dog?
one you're just.
No,
Oh,
this is
okay.
a hotel. I was talking about hotel, but
Oh, hotel. Okay.
yeah, but it was and so like the first time we got up, they were checking in. They gave her a choice of her toy. They have a dog bed. They have bowls and stuff for in the room. And anytime you saw anyone, housekeeping, valet, pool guy, they all like, oh, can I give your puppy a treat? I'm like, yeah. And they all had the same pocket and they would give her like a Blue Buffalo cookie or something. So we stayed there only for we got there the afternoon, did some run around, and then we're there that night and left the next morning. Unfortunately, Santino, my dog is pretty old, but she has not forgotten that. So anytime she sees someone, she runs up to them and expects them to pull out a treat out of their pocket.
Oh my God.
To the point now when we were walking, I'm like, they don't have any food for you. They have nothing for you to consume, honey. You got to just let it go.
I like and dislike some of those dog friendly restaurants, but it's some of them don't do it right. Some of them do it really right. There was
Lazy
one
Dog is a chain, and I think they do it very
yeah, that one does it right. I'll give it that one. There's a couple other ones that don't. Probably also one of the most annoying things we get to see because we go to dog parks a lot.
Oh yeah.
I cannot stand. We have small dogs, right? So we've got small dogs, and I'm at the dog park,
It makes you mad.
and so they have big dog park, little dog park, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy brings in Alaskan Huskies into the little one, and I'm like,
friendly.
and I'm having a conversation. I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Oh, well, I wanted to bring over the little side. And I said, no, you got to go over there, man. I don't like your dog. And he's like holding one of them back because it's trying to go out. Probably pictures it as a bunny rabbit, right? Because
They say that
really
big dogs don't see small dogs as dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was not something that I'm okay having a conversation like that with somebody if I need to be. I was mad that, God, they just didn't care, that it kind of ticked me off a little bit. So anyways.
Yeah, dog parks are not good things because Muggsy was a Shar-Pei Tosa, so he was bred on both sides to be a fighting dog.
Yeah.
And he was never aggressive, but he was the hall monitor. So the 2 times he
Okay.
got in with a dog is because that one dog was picking on another dog. So he would always stand in for the underdog. Like there
Yeah.
was one dog that was being chased all through the dog park. He's like an acre, 2 acres of just running space for large dogs. And this one dog was just getting chased by it was all because of one alpha was chasing the other dog, and the other dogs were following the alpha.
Yeah.
Muggsy goes in there, looks at it, watches it for a bit, waits because he doesn't run. And then the chased dog went by him, and he looked at it, and he just bulldozed and body checked the alpha.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had the alpha on the ground. The alpha was on his back. The alpha was screaming bloody murder. The alpha dog's owner was like, "Get your dog off my dog." I'm like, "You need to keep your dog in a wrap because that dog was being chased by your dog. And your dog was getting all these other dogs to chase that dog." I said, "Muggsy, come." And he stopped and, "Come in, good boy." And he did. And I said, "We're out." And then the woman that had the chased dog, she goes, "Thank you." I said, "No, I would not let your dog be here because that dog is just too aggressive."
Yeah.
And she's like, "But that's Muggsy. Muggsy was just a hall monitor. He just loved to, tell you what you're not supposed to do. You make sure you didn't do it."
Have you seen that reel of when you didn't tell your neighbor about the dog when they come over for dinner, and they have a dog that only walks on its back feet? So it
Oh,
stands up straight and it walks into the kitchen, and everybody's just kind of got like this awkward look on it. Like Chunkers is starting to prefer standing around on his hind legs.
so you can see.
Yeah, he'll just stand there, right? And
Mhm.
it's hilarious. I wanted to show you this one because we're talking about bringing dogs to parks. This is one of my favorite doggy memories right here. Look at this one.
Let me see.
So
Oh,
we took
water.
we yeah, we took them all to the lake. That's Lake Pleasant here in Arizona.
Okay.
And all the lakes in Arizona, they keep it's funny, they keep talking about, oh, the lake's never been as low as a level. Well, the problem is they're man-made lakes. Like, so we literally control the height of what those are. Right? But anyways, so we go there. It's kind of a trek to get down to the water now in some areas, but we brought them down for a little camping trip. Um, Probably never again, not for any negative reason, just it didn't look like they had fun.
You
They just,
don't think if you have to keep dogs leashed, it's not fun to camp.
yeah,
I have a 50-foot lead for Dax. And so one of the things that I do because of his breed, he's not an aggressive dog, but because of his breed, and he looks, pitties, Staffordshires are just pitties made bigger and nicer.
yeah,
Basically, like a bigger head, and that's about it. So he's got, and I tell you, like, it's not, those 2 breeds are actually not aggressive for him. It's the Australian cattle dog that is.
mhm,
But what I do is I always have at least a 15-foot lead attached to his collar. So it's just like it's like a horse lead. Actually, there's a horse lead. And so, but it's like nylon plastic. And the reason why is it trails, it's heavy. So he always feels connected to me. And if I ever have to, I can stomp on it and pull him in without putting
yeah,
my hand in the middle of something.
got it.
But yeah,
Yeah,
he's a good boy though. Yeah, I tell you, I'm
yeah.
the most protected female on my block.
There you go. My my dogs every one of them are flight risks. Man,
Really?
yeah. I know I know they love us, but and we've been trying to train like crazy. The the one
Yeah,
that's
because
most
they're like
responsive.
coyote poo-poos. They're just little coyote appetizers if you're not careful.
Yeah, and what's hilarious on that same camping trip where I have this thing when we go camping. So I watch a YouTube channel called Outdoor Boys, and he does outdoor camping in -30 in Alaska. No, thank you, but I love his cooking. I look at it as a cooking channel. So he makes campfire bread, just little plastic Ziploc bag, flour, yeast, water, sugar, and then fries it up in bacon fat or whatever they're cooking next morning. And I call them camp cakes. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. And stole that recipe from him. Love it. So I made one the first day, a little mini loaf of bread, and we're gonna have one for breakfast the next day. So I just leave it in a Ziploc baggie, and I leave it on the picnic table at our campsite.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Wild guess what type of animal I caught eating that in the middle of the night.
Raccoon?
No, a donkey that was bigger than most horses that I've seen.
Whoa.
So you hear the hoof prints, and then like you leave some of your stuff out that you know that they're not going to take metal and stuff like that. Well, my dough was next to it, and all of a sudden you just hear the dishes clang, 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 and it's echoing like crazy. And there's 100 campsites here, so everybody's mad at whoever made all this noise all of a sudden. Right? I get out there and there's this giant donkey, and the only thing I can think to say is, "It's not yours," and it drops it and walks away.
Wow.
And I was so mad. It took one solid bite out of it, plastic and everything. I'm like, man, I don't get the camp bread in the morning. I was so upset. So, anyways, but yeah. I mean, is there a certain dog breed that you'd say you're like bonded to that you'd prefer?
Not the breed. I'm a mutt
Yeah,
girl. I'm a rescue girl, 100%. All my cats were rescued, all my dogs were rescued. So yeah, I don't have like a specific breed that's like a must.
yeah,
Um, I will say though that love, bulldogs are so cute. Pitiful, but they're cute.
yeah.
You can't do much. you know.
I
Especially
yeah,
bulldogs in Arizona, they don't do well, the snub nose.
no.
So
Well, speaking of dogs that don't do well, I knew someone years ago here in Arizona bought a Newfoundland,
oh yeah, there's no
and
heat at all.
Hey there, thank you for checking out the podcast so far. Let me ask you a question. Do you think you've got an interesting story that'd be fun for others to hear or maybe inspire others? Well, you could be a guest right here on the Pino Team podcast. If that interests you in any way, send me a message on the social medias that we're connected on. Let's get that conversation started, and maybe, just maybe, you could be a guest here and share your story and inspire others. Now let's get back to the podcast.
and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? That dog's gonna die here. Like you just can't let that dog outside in the summer, and you have to run your AC. They can't be in over 70 degrees and be okay. They could be at like 75 and be kind of lethargic, but they need to be at their hottest is 70. And she had this Newfoundland, and then on top, so it's this big 150-pound giant dog, all this fur, it's a walking heater, and on top of that, unfortunately, one of the reasons that we really like rescuing dogs is because that's where you get really healthy dogs. I don't like purebred because most of the time they come with a lot of medical issues. And
Inbreeding.
she paid like $10,000 for this purebred, which in dogs kind of means inbred, Newfoundland. And she's just paying like crazy to keep this thing. And then she's like just transporting the dog to the vet was a nightmare because if you have a vet appointment in the middle of the summer, they not even for 30 seconds can they be in 120 degrees. They will not be able to cool down. And it was just this nightmare. It's like, look at all the dogs that your neighbors have. You need to have a similar dog. Okay. Like I'm sad to say that, right? Like we got one neighbor that got a pit bull, and all of a sudden that neighbor's like, well, how come nobody wants to hang out with me? Because you got a jerk of a dog, man. Like we can't bring our dogs around you. We don't want to be around you. Like I get it. Like you like the coolness of having a pit bull, but we don't want to hang out with you. Love you. Get rid of the dog. Okay. But now it's their family dog. So yeah.
In Hawaii, pit bulls are family dogs. In
Yeah.
Hawaii, they're just loyal, good poi dog. We call them poi dogs, just like a mud of everything, but
Yeah.
pit's definitely strong in there. Yeah, I remember with Muggsy, you talk about stories. So I have a friend, and she was always single, and she's like, I just looking for guys, and she just like bad boys. I used to tell her, like, the problem with you liking bad boys is one thing. She goes, what's that? I go, they're bad. And then you get angry because they're bad, but you like bad boys, and by definition, they're
Yeah.
bad. But she brought this guy over, and she'd been dating him for a while, but she brought him over for us to meet him, and Muggsy didn't like him.
Mm.
Muggsy stayed between me and him. Muggsy growled for the first time ever at a human that I've ever seen. And he would bark if it wasn't for the fact that the guy was in the house. And I looked at him and I said, I'm going to say this, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I don't really care if you do either way, but you need to leave. He was like, what? My friend's like, what? I said, he needs to leave. And she goes, now? I said, yeah, now. She goes, but we haven't had dinner. I'm like, he needs to leave now. And she's like, why? I said, because Muggsy doesn't like him.
Yeah.
And there's something wrong with him. And I don't know what it is, but he can't be in my home because my dog doesn't like you. You're not welcome into my home. And the guy was like, this is, F this, F that. And I'm like, yeah, I understand you're upset. It would be too if I was you. There's the door. This is where we're going to be. And then we found out later that he was married, had a kid, didn't tell my friend.
Oh.
And the wife called her. And so the joke still is Muggsy was a great judge of character.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Isn't that crazy? Like something was wrong with that guy. But that's, but
yeah.
I had cats before I had dogs, and I got engaged. And the next day, my fiance was like, I'm so sorry about your cat. And I go, why? And he goes, well, I'm allergic to cats. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. I said, so you're suggesting that you're thinking I'm going to have to get rid of my cat to get married to you? And he's like, well, yeah. And I go, oh yeah, that sucks. And he's like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no.
I tell people when it comes to like dating is like, if I'm giving advice, don't listen to me with the exception of one thing. I go, I've got enough dumb dating history that even though, I found an amazing wife, the joke I tell people is ask her dating advice. She knows how to find a winner. The only advice I give people is whether you marry them or you break up, that's the point of dating. The whole point of dating is to figure out if this is the person you want to marry, not that you need to marry them, right? That's why I'm like really proud of my son and his daughter-in-law because they were both working, they're living on their own, and they were married before ba- baby possibility that we're going to be grandparents in a few months. They'd been married for a couple of years already. And I told him I was very proud of you. I was like, you guys were better than me. You did better planning than me. It's all you can hope for, right? But I was kind of sad because I really my daughter has a good group of friends, and I really like most of them. And then one of the ones that would come over pretty often, we get a phone call one day that the whole family was sad because all of their dogs died. And immediately, what was your first thought? What was your first thought when you heard me say that right now?
First thought was someone killed them or they got poisoned.
It was actually parvo.
Yep, that's that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Oh, that's a horrible way to go.
And the worst part about parvo, it's the horrible gift that keeps giving because it will last on their clothes, no matter how much you wash, it'll last on years, right? And we have my daughter's got a birthday sleepover party coming up and stuff like that. Like, she can't come. Nothing. Like, even if we took her to like Ross, bought her a whole new outfit, scrubbed her down with bleach, she still can't come, right? Like, it's just not going to happen for a very long time, at minimum 9 months, right? And we were just so very careful on it because we also had, at the time, we still had these guys as puppies.
Yeah, it's no one killer for
no
puppies.
way. Yeah, absolutely no way.
It's Ebola for dogs.
Oh yeah, it
literally liquefies their insides just like Ebola.
Yeah, if I could, there's those things that you wish if I could snap my fingers, it'd be a inoculation or something like that can cure these dogs of parvo. I've watched it wreck families. A guy, my previous career, I didn't get it at the time because I had never personally been a dog owner at that point. I was a kid with dogs, but I'd never had my own dog. So we had a guy that I worked with that was an officer that parvo in a matter of like 72 hours took out all of his dogs. And I'm sitting there, I don't get it, but I watched him wrecked. Like, you raise these things for years. I said it in the last episode of the podcast was, I've got plenty of kids, but it's so weird for me that we've raised, this puppy from the moment he was conceived. It's like, that's an experience I'd never had before.
Oh, and that's why, again, like my pastor said, the dog will never hurt you intentionally.
Yeah.
It's pure love, pure grace. And it does break. I just can't imagine. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
How do you really know when do you really know you've bonded with a dog?
I think it's the same way you know when you're in love. And I think it's the same kind of force. You can't choose it.
Yeah.
Either it happens or it doesn't. You can't force it. You can't make it happen. Either you love someone or you don't love someone. Either you have that bond with your dog or not. And I'm very grateful and very lucky that most animals really usually take to me. Like I respond to them. They respond to me very well. My last husband, great guy, but I originally got Pippin for him, but she didn't bond with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because Muggsy was my dog. Muggsy was my boy. Like there was no like Muggsy was my dog. Like if we both like you do those things where you put the dog in the middle, you put the both spouses on either side, and you call the dog to see which one he goes to. Never like he could be holding the dog, and I would just say the dog's name from another room, and Muggsy would get up and go see me. It was just Muggsy was my dog, and so but I didn't intend for Pippin to bond with me. She just did. Like it's like you can't make it happen. It's like a child. You really can't make a child bond with you. It just happens. Like Bill Render, I love his honesty. And he said with all of his children, he didn't fall in love with them immediately. Like he was like, you hold them when you're first born, and he goes, I didn't love them until later.
Yeah. Like
I loved them, but didn't feel that impression and then bond with them until much later.
Yeah.
How about you?
It's tough. It's like I don't know really that I have that connection with them until later on, right? Like it almost comes in phases, in my opinion. But one of the hilarious parts about Phoebe is that she is the most loving, cuddling. Yeah, she'll bark at you when she first meets you, but it's bark, sniff, love, right?
Yeah.
And until my wife touches me in any way. I mean, even
she's possessive.
This girl will go nuts. Like she bit her. Not like the friendly like love tap. Like she got a good scratch in, and it's just like this morning, we're kind of laying in bed, and Helica kind of just rolls over, puts her head right here. This dog was in the bed, all right, just staring, and I'm sitting there, and I can, because she's like on the other side, and I'm like, I can like feel something staring at us, right? And I look at her, I go, is Phoebe staring you down right now? Yeah. I'm like, so I tap over to my left, and Phoebe crawls over me, staring at Angelica the whole time, and then goes and lays down, puts the head.
I'm watching.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like I've said it. I want the Dr. Dolittle power just for a day, because I want to ask Phoebe, who am I to you? Like define what I am. Am I owner? Am I husband? Like where do you think this relationship is? And
My dad has a great quote. He says, dogs look to humans to be their master. Cats look to humans to be their servants.
Yeah.
That's very accurate.
I saw another great meme too. It was me realizing that I've never told my name to my dog. Right? Like, does your dog even know your name? I'm like, no, that dog doesn't know what to call me. Nothing. Right? Like, yeah, it's like,
I don't know if they have roles. I mean, I think they have a pecking order, obviously. Like you're alpha male to her. for sure.
Yeah, but
The challenge with you is that Phoebe thinks she's alpha female,
yeah.
not Angelica. That's your challenge with her.
Oh no, yeah, totally. I think she looks at the pecking order as, okay, I'm in
Alpha
charge,
male.
like me.
Mhm. And then
Then
she's
there's
alpha
her,
female.
and then there's Angelica, and then
Angelica, and
all the
everything.
other living things in the
It's
house.
free for all after
Right?
that.
Yeah, because we've got 2 tortoises too that we rescued.
Oh, what kind?
Now, just regular desert. No, they're getting kind of up there in size.
Nice.
One just walked into our yard one day. We found out later what happened is the neighbors moved. The only reason I knew this is because, the neighbors moved. I'm like, okay, open house. I'm gonna go check out their house, right? I want to see what they changed in their house so I could change in mine, right? And that was a couple months later after we found the tortoise. There was chicken wire in the backyard. I'm like, oh my gosh, they moved and they left the damn tortoise. Like, that was so sad to me. I couldn't believe that they did that. So we rescued her. We found out her. But then Angelica's sister somehow got a hold of a tortoise that had been rescued. This thing is so sad. They kept it in a shoebox. They tried to peel its shell off. Yeah, it survived. It somehow survived. It doesn't know, it's not on the regular rhythm like a tortoise. So it just never got those cycles in. It's starting to now, but the sad part is, so we got Chica and Dom are the name of our tortoises. Chica, when we got Dom, Chica was about this big. Dom was about this big. There are a lot of signs to an unhealthy tortoise, okay? Tortoises need to have smooth shells. This one looked like a stegosaurus, man. It was pyramids, which makes it even weaker, the shells. So, but the thing was, when you kind of age it out, there's different indicators for the little tortoise, even though they're the same species, was actually older than our
He
female.
was in a small space and he wasn't taking
Right.
care.
Now, one of the most hilarious things that has ever happened in my life. Okay. So I'm at the office or something like I usually am, and I get a frantic phone call from my wife. Something's wrong with Dom. And she sends me a picture and she goes, I think his insides are pouring out. And she sends me the photo and I go, nope. Dom's a boy. We know that Dom's a boy. That's all it is. We know Dom's a boy. And
He's feeling better.
The only stupid reason I knew that, right? I swear to God, my brain works dumb sometimes. There's the reboot movie of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Megan Fox.
Okay.
And when Michelangelo first sees April O'Neil, he goes, "Oh, I can feel my shell tightening." I'm like, I Googled what the heck, why is it? What is it? I'm like, oh, he was gonna do that to April O'Neil? Ah, it was no, I could not believe that. Ew. Oh,
Was it
oh my God.
so this is a dog story, but it's kind of bigger
Yeah.
than that. So when I lived in Hawaii, my office was in Hilo and I lived in Waikoloa Village. And so it's on either side of the island. So that is 96 miles one way and not highway 96 miles. We're talking road. And so it's about 3-hour drive one way if you were in speed limit. So anyway, we started out the day and it was with my last husband and we were short money. And he's like, we need $75 or we're going to overdraft. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's going to happen. He goes, how do you, I'm like, just calm down. Just be willing. We just have to be willing to do what needs to be done. And that's what, and then we'll be fine. Don't worry. We'll make it work. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I don't, I just do. Just be willing. And so we're coming back at night after op night. And so it's like 11:30, almost midnight at this point. And we come down and he goes, stop, there's a dog. So I stop and open the door, and the dog is right here. And there's this beautiful liver colored pointer.
Yeah.
Beautiful dog, beautiful, young. And he smelled bad. Like you can tell he'd been out for a while in the middle of nowhere, like just lava fields and eucalyptus forest. Like there's nothing else around. And so I get in the back with the dog, and I'm dressed in business clothes, and the dog gets into my lap, puts his head, and just and I was like, we're keeping the dog. Man's like, you can't get the dog. I'm like, we're keeping the dog. We're not gonna take it. We're keeping the dog. He's like, no, we're gonna take it. I'm like, no, we're not. We're gonna keep the dog. So we get down the mountain. It's like, because we have to go up and we have to go back down. And come to find out, he had a collar and it had a brass plate on it with just the number. So we called in. At this point, it's like midnight. It's after midnight on like a Tuesday night. And so we call, and my husband at the time, he's like, hello, we have a dog. What was it, Maui? I went, Maui? And the dog's head, we go, we got Maui. So we go back. Now, we don't have gas. That was one of the issues. We couldn't put gas in the car because we didn't have enough money for gas.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, don't worry, we'll make it. Yeah, but we're on it. I'm like, don't worry about it. I got it. I know what my car can do. So we go back up the mountain. So we're turning. So no gas. We were worried about getting home. But we turn around, and it's this old guy rancher, and he pulls up on the truck, and because we had to meet him at his gate. And then this car pulls up behind him, and we hear the guy goes, honey, stay in the car. And she goes, where's my Maui? And she comes out with a little cane, and the dog runs out, jumps into his arms, goes to her, jumps back into the guy's arm. Guy puts in the truck, and he goes, thank you so much. Rings her hand. She's like, thank you. I'm like, oh my gosh, my dog. I'd be worried too. He basically, the older hunting dogs took the puppy out and never brought him back.
Oh, wow.
He'd been gone since Thanksgiving, and this was February. And so the guy palmed my husband some cash, and we didn't look at it. He didn't even tell me about it until we got home, and we kind of slid home. Like I put in neutral to kind of get the gas to last longer. And I'm taking a shower because we didn't know what the dog had. So, took all that. And I just never forget, he came in, he goes, so Maui's owner palmed me some money. I go, oh, that's cool. That's nice that he did that. He didn't have to, but that's nice. He goes, he palmed me $150.
Wow.
I said, twice is what we need, isn't it? He's like, yeah. I said, see what happens when you're willing. God delivers when you're willing.
Good things happen.
It does.
God steps in financially a lot. Like there was one night that, and we were just, we're early on in business and just kind of broke, just need a little bit of that pressure relief, just a little bit, right? And I'm just like, I'm just going to go for a walk. It's going to go for a walk and just walk around my neighborhood, find $200 on the ground. And I was like, okay. It was like, it was a very religious moment for me. Like, there's a lot of things I might do when I'm stressed. Now I don't turn to like any of the stuff that turns off my brain, when I'm stressed, but I might find something productive to do. I fall into my work a lot, right? It's never once that I need to go spend time with myself and go have a walk. But for some reason, when I had that thought that day put in my heart, so I go on this like hour and a half walk, and on my return journey, $200 just sitting right there. And I'm like, I just accepted the blessing for it because we needed it. We needed it. And I think if you're on the right path, if you're doing the right thing, God really puts a lot of benefits in your way, right? A lot of positives.
I think it gives you breadcrumbs, like, hey, you're on the right track. Don't worry.
Thank you for watching the podcast. By now, you've probably heard a couple references to our Patreon exclusives. So on Patreon, there's usually at least one section of every podcast that doesn't make it to the main video that we add just for Patreon subscribers, Patreon members. And usually it's hard-hitting topics, so it's definitely something you want to take a look at. But also there are uploads made specifically just for our Patreon members, and then also some community things that we're doing. There's going to be a members-only Telegram and other things where we can connect individually. So it's something I would definitely take a look at. My suggestion is after the video, go to the Patreon link, and if there's a membership that fits what you would like to do, check it out. And it'll help us grow as a community, and it'll be supporting the podcast and the mission of the Pino team. I appreciate you checking it out. Now let's get back to our podcast.
I have had so much fun with you today.
Likewise, Santino, thank you for letting me be on it. Thank you for giving me the picture of your doggies.
Oh yeah. Keep it, just because you didn't want to be so big on the screen. Now I will let you know the YouTube one will just be the picture of the doggies and us in the corner, but the Patreon will probably be us because that conversation had nothing to do with dogs. So we're talking about heroin and this and that, right? It's like, and these beautiful little puppies here. It's like, okay, there's a mix of themes, right? So,
Called life.
yeah.
Called life. Selective attention.
I appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate you too, Santino. Thank you so much for letting me talk today. You take care.